Lynn Ike. She can say it, I'll say it too. Lynn I Like Ike, I-K-E. Lynn Ike is the Director of Marketing, Van Andel Arena and DeVos Place. And she will talk to us and enlighten us and charm us and all of the things that I know she does about herself and this city. So I will turn it over to Lynn now. Thank you. Lynn?
Thank you for having me today. I don't do a lot of public speaking because usually people are the media talking to me, and I need to keep a tight lip on what I'm saying, basically.
You're going to tell us everything.
Well, I've lived in Grand Rapids my entire life. In fact, my parents were from Grand Rapids as well. My mother went to Union High School. My father went to Central. I went to Ottawa. And so we're all longtime Grand Rapidians, so to speak. And I have seen so many changes in this community over a lifetime. I started working downtown in 1986 at a radio station. I was promotion director there, and we did a lot of different community events. But we also put together a big boys toy show at the Old Welsh Auditorium. And at some point, they were looking for new event coordinators at the convention center, and he had a lot of applications, but nobody had any sort of event experience. So he called me up, and I thought, oh, that sounds boring after being in radio, but I found that I love the entertainment industry. I love the meeting planners, everything that has to do with it. I like the behind-the-scenes type work rather than being in the community's eye like we were with radio. Of course, I do have to deal with media occasionally when things happen, but we try and be proactive and talk to them before there's an issue so that we've got the groundwork laid down. I started with SMG in 1996. SMG is a private management company for public venues, and we have over 200 venues worldwide that we work with. We have stadiums and arenas and convention centers, theaters, outdoor parks, the horse racing, just about anything you can think of. And we go in. The city had been managing the Grand Center before SMG got the contract in '94, and they had a large staff that was there every single day, day in and day out. Some of the things that SMG does is we hire contractual labor for specific jobs. It keeps the costs down so that we can hopefully get into the black as often as possible. But we hire a lot of people from the community for the arena. When they built the arena in '96, the goal was to embrace the community as opposed to replace the community. So we have a lot of workers that come in through staffing or Axios, and they'll be our ticket takers, custodians, some of them work in the concession stands, the setup and tear down of everything, plus we have DK security. We also use stagehands. The local 26 here does all of the theatrical lighting and sound, all the different things that go into that entertainment, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I started as an event coordinator at the Grand Center, and my first event was the Meyer Food Fair. That was a big event, kind of what I called a binge and purge event. People came in and they just stockpiled as many of the little samples as they could possibly get. You'd go from a little bit of pickle to a little bit of orange juice to a little bit of pizza, and some people couldn't handle all of that. So it was quite the event. But that was my very first event to coordinate for SMG in the Grand Center. We did a lot of different events, but the biggest project was the expansion. When we started the expansion, my partner, who is the house manager for the theater, we sat down and we wrote out 18 pages of different things that we had to have with a new theater and a new convention center. For instance, our exhibit hall is 162,000 square feet. There's no pillars, columns, there's nothing that interrupts that space. Whereas before we had the Grand Hall, the Welsh Auditorium, the East Hall, the West Hall, the Michigan Room, the Kent Room, the Blodgett Room, all these little entities here and there. Now we've got the size of 3 football fields side by side in the convention center, and we have brought in some huge events for that. In fact, this past summer, working with the West Michigan Sports Commission, we've had USA Table Tennis Tournament, and that was a international event. A lot of the people were working up going to the Olympics. We've had judo, we've had volleyball, and it's quite a scene when you have 300 ping pong tables, table tennis tables, in one room. It's just fascinating watching all of that. We've also have a ballroom with 4,000 square feet. We used to do events in the Grand Hall. It was 29,000, so it must be 40,000 square feet. But we can do meals. I think the biggest amount of people that we fed in one day was 8,500 people in one day. And that's working with the Grand Center, the Grand Plaza. They're the official food and beverage caterers for the convention center. There aren't any companies around here that can match the amount of wait staff that they can bring in, the cooks that they need to present all of these meals. And they come over, they're hot and they're tasty, and I think it's just almost a miracle that they can feed that many people at one time. We've had President Bush had his rally there. Mitt Romney's been through the building quite a few times. We've also have the Econ Club that does a lot of their banquets. They've had President Clinton, people from other countries like, the Mossad was there. I had to work with the Mossad. My dad's like, oh, that sounds scary. They were really nice, but they were there for Shimon Peres. So we've done quite a few different types of events. At the arena, we have, the capacities for the arena, if we want to have an end stage and really push some people through there, 12,098 we can fit in. If we've got hockey, 10,834 people. Basketball court, 11,668. We've got 42 leased suites. They either lease them on a 3, 5, or 7-year basis. I've got 2 public suites that we use for different concerts or events. People can lease or rent those for one night. Of course, we've got catering in all of the buildings. The Griffins, the Grand Rapids Griffins, have been in the building since it opened. And they are a big part of the reason that that was built in the first place. A couple years ago, we had the 30th anniversary of DeVos Performance Hall, and I did some digging on the history of that. The Welsh Auditorium was built in 1934, and then in 1980, actually in 1964, a committee was put together with the city, with the mayor, and Mary Ann Keeler and some of the Blodgetts, Edith Blodgett, of course the DeVosses and Van Andels, determined that they needed more culture in Grand Rapids. And so in 1964, they started a master plan for a convention center, a theater, and an arena. Can you imagine it took that long, from 1964 to 1996, to actually complete the arena? But it has really changed the landscape of downtown. When I worked at the radio station, which was 86 to 96, I would pull my car up at 5 o'clock if I was working late, because you just didn't want to wander around downtown alone. Now you see people walking around all hours of the day and night. In the winter, the skating at Rosa Parks. The Art Prize is an incredible enhancement to our community. Just all these different things. The theater itself, DeVos Performance Hall, we've got 2,400 seats. We've got 4 performing arts groups in the theater. We are the only theater in the state that has 4 performing arts groups that call it home, and the only professional ballet company in the state of Michigan. So we're very, very fortunate in this town. I can remember as a kid, it's like there's nothing to do. Now the problem is, what should I do? What do you leave behind because something else is more important? This town has just changed dramatically. My father worked at Herpelsheimer's for 17 years. I can remember riding the bus downtown. You had to wear a skirt. You couldn't come downtown unless you were dressed up. And it was quite a treat. We'd ride the bus, and then we'd wait at the back door, and we'd ride home with my father. And that was a big deal for us. We enjoyed it. So when the Herbolsheimers left, and then Wurzburgs and Stecketies and everything started changing, it was a little sad to see that everything had moved out to Woodland Mall and all these other stores. So I'm really happy to see the way that downtown has changed, has grown, and that everybody is collaborating to make it a better place to live. I think that, I don't know what it'd be like to live anywhere else, but I think that the west side of the state is a little bit more motivated to work out of a recession than the east side of the state. I think there's more people that are willing to come up with solutions, and people are excited about living here. Right now we're trying to retain more young people, educate them, keep them here rather than going to the big cities. Another push that we have is a diversity initiative. We are working on providing programming for the minorities, people of color in Grand Rapids, the Hispanics and the African Americans, trying to bring them affordable entertainment so that we are taking care of all of the people in our community rather than just having country shows and rock shows and things like that. A lot of the performing arts groups are trying to redefine some of their programming so that they can also provide the cultural diversity that we're looking for. And also, quite frankly, a lot of their supporters are getting older. So trying to bring youth into symphony. Of course, the ballet has got all their programs. They go out to the schools and they teach ballet, and it's just part of their community efforts. They do that for free. They'll go out and try and get kids interested in it. We've worked very hard with a lot of the Grand Rapids public schools to offer them incentives as well to stay in classes. We'll provide tickets we did the big show called Walking with Dinosaurs, and it was such a wonderful, informative, educational show that I reached out to Grand Rapids Public Schools, and we set up a program with sixth graders where they wrote an essay about what it would be like if they lived with the dinosaurs. And so for every school, we had, I think 85 kids that came with their teacher or their principal to the show. We gave them free popcorn and Pepsi. They got to come to a meet and greet with a T-Rex. The kids loved it. And what we were trying to do is instill the fact that there's a lot of opportunities. The fact that they had to write a paper to attend the show, we took care of everything, and I invited them with a teacher or principal so we didn't have to worry about transportation. So a lot of the students in the Grand Rapids Public Schools don't have that option to go to a show, to be able to have transportation and then get them home safely afterwards. So that was a big show for us. I was really excited about doing that. Another thing, when we have entertainers come through the arena, we thank them by giving a donation of $500 to two different entities. One, $250 to their charity of choice, and the other $250 we donate to Kids Food Basket in their name. So it's creating an awareness about the hunger of poverty and trying to help the Kids Food Basket, and they have grown and grown and grown. They do a wonderful service. So we try and tie ourselves in with the community with a lot of the things that we're doing. Along with providing good entertainment, we're also bringing a lot of money into town. The conventions, we probably have over 550,000 people a year that are going through DeVos Place. That's a lot of people coming in for hotels and restaurants and all the other things that we can provide here as a community. Once we get people into Grand Rapids for a site visit, they almost always book their convention with DeVos Place. It's getting them here. So we're always asking people, what association are you aligned with? Wouldn't you like to see your organization come to Grand Rapids? So we work on a state and a national level to bring top-notch conventions to Grand Rapids. They come here, they are so excited. A lot of people plan their vacations to come back. You can't possibly do everything. You can't get out to Meyer Gardens. You can't see the big lake. A lot of people don't even understand the Great Lakes are so huge. So there's a lot to be said about our community. We're very, very proud of it. And I guess that's about as much as I can tell you at this point. But if anybody's got any questions or anything, I'd be happy to.
We had a state convention for I-12 here in the neighborhood. Experience Grand Rapids was absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
Working with us. They were everything we needed. How can we help? It was to the point she says, I feel like I'm bugging you all the time, but what more can we do? And they were wonderful. So please pass that on.
Oh, yeah.
They are a great asset to Grand Rapids.
They really are.
For sure.
And we work very closely with them. They have a great team of people, and they've got an offshoot, the West Michigan Sports Commission. I don't know if you've ever spoken with Mike Gusweiler, but they're now building the ballpark up by Rockford. So there's a lot of different growth going on in our community, and it is due to people like that. The experienced Grand Rapids people are wonderful.
What's the Civic Auditorium used for now?
The Civic Auditorium, which changed into the Welsh Auditorium, was imploded in 2003, and it is now where our ballroom is. Yep, we can subdivide it to 4 small ballrooms, or we can feed 4,000 people in there all at once.
But they kept the facade.
We sure did. Isn't that beautiful?
So the balcony and everything is gone from the old?
It is, yes. We have meeting rooms on the upper level. They're the river overlook meeting rooms. We've got a real nice boardroom in the southeast corner that looks out over the Grand Plaza, the river, and out towards Grand Valley. So the whole thing is enhanced by the river outside, where our old building, the Grand Center, the only way you could see the river is if you were in the Kent room and you were looking up over a window. Now we're taking advantage of that. It's there. It's beautiful. We've had, I did an employee party out there where we just were out in the pre-function space, not even in the ballroom, just so you could see all the lights at the Ford Museum and the Grand Rapids Public Museum. So that's what is in the Welsh. I graduated from the Welsh, used to go to the Shrine Circus there.
We used to go to, we had our proms at the Black and Silver Room.
The Black and Silver Room. When I first started, they gave me a handful of keys and said, figure out what they all do. So I'm like, oh my word. Well, I started walking around, and it was like, oh, the Black and Silver Room. And I opened up the doors, and it was all bricked in. It was the back of our freight elevator. It's like, drat. I thought I was going to see a piece of history. Well, the building is historical. It is incredible. I found pictures where they used to have the elephants downstairs in the West End. All the animals, they camped right down there in the West Hall. Yeah.
That's where we used to hold the banquets for Eastern Star Grand Chapter.
Mm.
We had that in there for years and years and years and years.
Yeah. Yep.
They always had the banquet. The only way they could get the banquet in there was to put it in the basement.
Yeah.
We used to fill it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We've had quite a few of the...
Nothing for us to have 5,000 people in there.
Yeah, we can feed a lot of people. We've not even reached our max
Well,
yet.
we still have the tunnel. Well, it's still there.
The tunnel is there over to the
But it's
hotel.
only for service from the hotel.
Yep,
But we used to use that back and forth all the time.
you bet. In fact, I know the Sweet Adelines still do that.
Grand officers used to do that because they had formals on and stuff. And
Mm.
rather than go outside, they could go through the tunnel and go back to their rooms.
My father told me that back a long time ago that you could almost go through underneath the town from building to building.
There was tunnels all in.
Yeah,
They found a lot of those when they were replacing water mains.
as they burst. Yes?
Over the years, I've heard different plans for outdoor arena. Have you heard anything like that recently?
Well, Millennium Park is where they're looking at putting it. One of the issues is the neighborhood surrounding it and having so many cars converge that they wouldn't be able to do anything. So the last thing I heard is they're going to be extending Wealthy out to Millennium so that it's a straight shot and it's not interrupting all the normal life flow in the neighborhood. Then, of course, the recession hit and all the cutbacks and things, and no more money was put there. But I do know that they'll continue working on it. It's also on a water table, and I think that they were concerned about that. When they redid the Grand Center to DeVos Place, We had to put so much grout in underneath the building just to hold it up because we were kind of sinking into the ground. So there's a lot of caves and all of these things that Grand Rapids has to reinforce before you can actually build on it.
There's a river that runs right underneath this building. There's a
I'm-
long stream, if you go down the basement, you can hear it.
I bet.
We've had it all shadowed through there, but it runs right underneath, goes right, starts way out, almost East Grand Rapids, it comes right underneath this building and dumps out right by the Welch Auditorium.
Isn't that something? That just amazes me. I worked in the People's Building for 10 years. And you'd go down like 3 floors, 3 basements below, and you'd hear things dripping. And it's kind of scary. But yeah, our city is built on that.
There's actually a spring in the middle of Michigan Avenue, and it used to every once in a while pop up. It was right by Ionia, Michigan.
Really?
And it would just start flowing there, and that's the spring that the Grand Rapids Brewery used for their water.
Years ago, it was there, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, because that's where the state building is now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Lynn, you mentioned in the Van Andel Arena, there are public and private viewing loges or rooms, or what do you call them? What does one of the public ones, how many would it hold? What kind of expense would a person have to come up with a group
Well,
to do that? Right?
our public suites hold 16 people each, although it's 101A and B, and there's the divider like you've got here, where you can pull it apart and have 32 people. It's based on the ticket price. So if you have a low ticket price, like for the circus or something, it could be around $300, and we usually throw in a food package where there's 16 hot dogs, 16 mini burgers, some popcorn and some pop. Now, if you've got a show like when we had Lady Gaga and her tickets were over $200, you multiply that times 16 plus some rent, and it's pricey. But we always rent them.
Is it a percentage of the ticket then?
Basically, they're just rounding it up. There's no rhyme or reason for most of it. It's kind of market bears. We do a lottery before we go on sale for all the public suites. And we kind of base it on, okay, do I have 40 requests or do I have 1? If you have 1, you price it accordingly. If you have 40, it goes up a little bit more. Our private suites start at $28,000 a year. And then you also get to purchase your tickets and your catering on top of that. We provide parking for 2 cars behind the arena in Area 2, because that's the only space that we really have any authority to use. So we've been real fortunate. I had a list of 50 companies on a waiting list until 2008. So right now I have got 4 suites that are open, and the rest of them are being used in long-term contracts. So we're actually better than most public venues our size. I talk to my peers. We have an event and arena marketing conference every year, and most of them are having about 8 concerts a year, and we're 20 to 25 a year. So we have a lot of entertainment coming through Michigan. We've turned into the must-play destination. They know if they're going to Detroit and then Chicago, if they can find a date in between to come to Michigan, it's worth their while. So we're very, very fortunate here. When I first heard they were putting a sports arena in, it's like, what do we need that for? You're taking my parking space. But I've come to love it. So I love all the behind-the-scenes things. No, we don't get any free tickets. No discount, nothing. No, we don't get to meet every performer that comes through, which I'm thankful for. After being in radio for 10 years, I get to meet all sorts of people that I really never wanted to meet in the first place because they're not very pleasant. The ones that are pleasant are rare. But, you know, they see enough of the public. I can understand why they'd want some privacy. They just enjoy performing for us.
Any other questions? Lynn, I think it's safe to say here, we like Ike. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have a very great and natural ability to speak, and
Oh, well,
we
thank
thank
you
you
very
very
much.
much. We'd like to present you with this so that you'll always remember this occasion,
I love that.
and we thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.